morning, this is Brian. Today is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. I'm here at Mission Trails Regional Park, right near the Mission Dam Trailhead, which is down there. And I am on the Quai Pike Peak Trail here with a Spotlight on Shrubs video. So today's episode focuses on another San Diego County awesome species. And it is this shrub here. This is Munz Sage, Salvia munzii. This is a partially summer deciduous, in other words, drought deciduous, woody-based shrub in the mint family, the Lamiaceae. And it has a relatively narrow distribution here in Southern California. So what we have here is a usually kind of small, maybe medium-sized shrub with kind of fairly light green with a little hint of grayish in it with the foliage, and it's wrinkly on the top, so it kind of has a slightly bumpy, warty texture when you rub it. And like other plants in the Lamiaceae, the leaves are oppositely arranged. Almost messed that one up. So they're oppositely arranged on the stem, as you see here. So they're opposite one another on the stem. A lot of times you'll see other little leaves in the axils right by where the larger leaves are. And that's very common on a lot of these mint family plants. So here we are, maybe about 600 feet above sea level. It's a pretty low elevation shrub, mostly out here in sunnier coastal sage scrub. We're on kind of a northwest facing slope, so we're not that far away from where there's going to be some chaparral. But here in the coastal sage scrub, sometimes you'll find this plant, and I really haven't seen it much in the wild. And today I'm lucky to catch it in bloom. This is actually the first time I've seen it or known that I've seen it in the wild. And I'm going to tell you why. Munz sage is very similar to two different types of sages that grow wild here in Southern California. One of which is a local endemic and one of which is very common. It's very similar looking to black sage and also somewhat similar looking to Cleveland sage. So I would say it looks a little more like black sage with respect to the shape of the leaves and the way it sends up its inflorescences, its flower-producing stalks. However, the color of it also hints a little bit more towards the Cleveland sage. So it looks a lot like Cleveland sage, Salvia clevelandii, and it also looks a lot like black sage, Salvia mellifera. I have not done a spotlight on Cleveland sage yet, but I have pointed it out in previous videos. Last hike I saw a lot over by Iron Mountain in Powell. And then I've done a spotlight video on black sage years ago. So what I want to do is I'm going to take a couple pictures of the leaves, take a picture or two of the leaves, and then I'm going to go into talking more about the leaves and why this is kind of similar to the much more common black sage. So those of you who've seen black sage, and pretty much any hiker in Southern California who hikes at low elevations on the coastal and foothill sides of the mountains has come across black sage probably in quite a large abundance. It's a very common shrub. So looking at this shrub here, the Munz sage, one who might not be too in tune with the differences between the two would maybe pass this off as just a black sage. I've probably been guilty of that before because I have hiked up this trail during the summer months when everything is dry. So probably passing these up during the summertime, assuming they're probably black sages, not even realizing Munz sage. Because during the dry season, both plants look remarkably similar, even more similar than they would at other times of the year, because they're very dried, dehydrated bushes with wrinkly, old, crusty leaves on them. But now that we're in a good rainy season, now I can actually look at the plants more carefully and figure, okay, I'm looking at Munz sage as opposed to black sage. Again, the shape of the leaves is remarkably similar to that of black sage. As you see here, kind of relatively narrow, kind of ovate, and with that same wrinkly, warty texture you would expect on black sage. And also a little bit on Cleveland sage. Cleveland sage has similar shaped leaves as well. So if it's not in bloom, how would you tell the difference? Well, the first one specimen I saw towards the bottom of the trail on near Junipero trail, the leaves are not quite as long in profile as black sage, and they're a little more rounded. As you see here, these leaves have a little bit more of a rounded aspect and not quite as long. Black sage leaves tend to be a little bit longer, especially during the periods when it's wetter, because their leaves are in better development. So again, that could lead to confusion later on when black sage and Munz sage are semi-dormant and their leaves are smaller than they normally would be. So again, sometimes during the rainy season, it's best to do your identification then when the plants are really putting out their characteristics that stand them apart from each other, especially closely related, very similar species. So now you probably noticed a little bit of purple on your screen. It's because the plant is in bloom. So when the plant is in bloom, that's another way to tell it from black sage and also from Cleveland sage, because although the flowers on Cleveland sage also have a purplish blue hue to them, they are arranged differently on the inflorescence stalks than Munz sage and black sage. Now, black sage and Munz sage, again, this is Munz sage, Salvia munzii, their inflorescences, in other words, the stalks that carry the flowers, are elongated, very long, and they have these rounded staged heads on them. Now, so we're going, okay, how do I use that to tell between black sage and Munz sage? Because both sages have this type of inflorescence. So how you tell the difference is the shape of the flower and to a degree the color of the flower. Now, the flower shapes are kind of similar on Munz and black sage. And I'm saying similar, but not synonymous, not the same exactly. The flowers of the Munz sage tend to be pretty small like a black sage, but they tend to have more of a tubular profile, as you can kind of see here. And they have a small lip that protrudes from the bottom, which is very common in Lamiaceae. So you can see where my thumb is, you can kind of see there's like a little lip hanging down. The black sage, the flowers are usually more of a whitish color with a slight tinge of blue, as opposed to being striking blue, almost purplish, as is on Munz sage. So we're looking at these purplish colored flowers with smaller lips that hang down. Black sage tends to have larger lips and more of a whitish to slightly bluish cast. So if you look carefully at the flowers on these, that's how you can kind of tell the difference. Now again, Cleveland sage also has a purplish bluish flower. However, their inflorescences are usually not quite as long and up, and usually the flowers are mostly clustered along the top of the inflorescence as opposed to staged all the way down, as is on Munz sage. So there you have it. Beautiful Munz sage. Now what I want to do is get into a couple pictures, a few more up-close pictures in case the video was a little blurry. And it's really hard to show extreme detail. So let me get a couple pictures of the flowers, and then you can appreciate, hopefully with better photography, what they look like up close. hoping that gave you a little bit of a slightly more detailed look at it. See, there's another way you could tell the difference between Cleveland sage and the Munz Sage, is that the flowers are a bit larger, much larger, and they have more of a longer lip hanging down from the bottom of the Cleveland sage flowers. Cleveland sage flowers are larger and they bloom considerably later. Actually, right now, as we're looking at these Munz sages well into their bloom, black sages are starting to also develop their inflorescences, but they haven't really started blooming much yet. There might be a couple here and there that might be, but I actually haven't seen any black sage along this trail yet. So, looking here, we are at the end of February. Some of the black sages will start blooming pretty soon. And they get more heavily into April, late March, April, sometimes May, and even in June. But it seems like Munz Sage seems to be a little bit earlier on the blossoming. I wish there were some black sage around here so I could show you hand in hand the differences. But again, the leaves are shorter in Munz Sage. The leaves are shorter. The flowers are more tubular shaped and purplish blue. A little bit smaller, a little bit shorter lipped than the black sage is. So there you have it. The Munz Sage. Relatively local species of sage here in the awesome hills of San Diego County. Beautiful coastal sage scrub out here. Thanks for watching my spotlight video. I hope you found it informative and helpful in identifying yet another awesome local San Diego County species. See you on the next spotlight video. Thanks for watching.